Hello, third graders. Today we are going to be talking about parallel and perpendicular lines again. Today we will be identifying some real examples in the real world. You will know that you are successful when you can identify examples of parallel and perpendicular lines that aren't in a math book or on a worksheet but are existing in the real world. So let's review. Parallel lines, remember, are two lines that will never intersect, okay? Not that aren't intersecting right now. Remember, if lines are like this and like this, those two lines are still going to intersect at some point. Instead, parallel lines are lines that will never. They are the same distance apart. That's how you know they will never intersect. Take a look at these lines. They're far away there and close together here. That's how I know they're going to intersect. Instead, the lines down here are the same distance apart. Those two lines are the same size. Same here. They might not be straight up and down or straight left to right, but they are the same distance apart. The last thing is that they exist on the same plane. That means that if I have a line in my classroom and Miss Hulkren has a line in her classroom, those lines aren't parallel because they aren't in the same place. Okay, they have to be on the same sheet of paper, on the same sign, or on the same ground. Let's keep going. Perpendicular lines. Ooh, I wanted to remind you one more thing actually. Parallel lines, remember. Those L's can help you remember that they are lines that don't touch, just like those L's. Okay, perpendicular lines. Two lines that intersect at a 90-degree or right angle. These lines on the screen could never be perpendicular lines, remember, because they are parallel. Lines cannot be both perpendicular and parallel. Instead, perpendicular lines are going to look like this. Remember, a line continues forever, and a perpendicular line means that they will have a right angle. We draw a little square like that. It would still be perpendicular lines if they were sideways like this, as long as they are still a right angle. I can take the edge of my paper, because that's always a corner, or something similar, a square, and I can put it up to the edge and make sure that the corner that I see will fit the edge of my paper, okay? Just like that. That's one trick to figuring out if it is perpendicular. Lines that intersect at a 90-degree or right angle. So look at the following pairs of lines and identify, are they parallel, perpendicular, or intersecting? Well, I'm remembering that parallel means that they have two lines that won't intersect. Well, these two for sure don't intersect. They're the same distance apart, so I'm writing parallel for these. Okay? Now I'm looking down at D, and I'm seeing that those two lines don't intersect. But third graders, think to yourselves, will they intersect at some point if they continue? Yes, they will. So they cannot be parallel. The other two lines I see intersect, so I know they are not parallel. Perpendicular means that they are at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to think about holding a piece of paper up to letter B. If I put my piece of paper here, it would look like this. I think that that would work just fine because that's a square and it works. So I would put these as perpendicular. Okay, and then letter C, those intersect as well, but what if I put a piece of paper up to this edge right here? Yeah, that's definitely not going to work. So they're crooked just like the other ones, but because they are not intersecting at a 90-degree angle, they must just simply be intersecting lines. Okay? I know that these lines are eventually going to intersect as well, so they will be the same, intersecting. Now, for the fun part, let's start identifying in the real world. So, take a look at these railroad tracks. Think about what you know about railroad tracks. Will they ever intersect? Okay. The correct answer is no. These are an example of parallel lines because they always will stay the same distance apart. The pictures kind of confusing because that line is definitely bigger than that line. But if you were standing right here, and if you were looking down here, you would see that they are the same distance apart. This is an example of parallel or perpendicular, ask yourself. I know for sure they're intersecting, so I'm thinking which one means intersecting, and the correct answer is perpendicular. Okay? We know that these are perpendicular because they intersect at a 90-degree angle. That could be my 90-degree angle. Depending on whichever way you're looking at it, this could be my 90-degree angle. So my examples of perpendicular lines would be here and here. There's another example of perpendicular lines, which would be here and here, or on any of the other corners, because they intersect at a 90-degree angle. I even see parallel lines here, okay? Parallel lines could be on either side of the sign because those will never intersect. Remember, if you are drawing parallel and perpendicular lines, always use a ruler. Look at this very British example of lines. Are these lines parallel or perpendicular? Let's talk about those bold red lines first. Parallel or perpendicular? Correct answer is perpendicular. Remember, they are intersecting at a 90-degree angle. Okay? There are many other lines that are intersecting in this picture. Okay, we're still using this line. But now let's talk about these two lines, both the green lines. Those are intersecting because they are not parallel. Parallel lines never intersect. And they are not perpendicular lines because they don't intersect at a 90-degree angle. Bookshelves or books. Tons of examples of lines here. I see some parallel books that are right up next to each other. I see some parallel shelves here and here. And then I also see some examples of perpendicular. Can you find examples of perpendicular? Go ahead and just point them out on your screen. That's right. If you look at these shelves going across, you could find many perpendicular lines. For example, here and here. This will form a right angle. All right, this example already has some highlighted parallel lines. Okay, but I also would challenge you to take a look at the perpendicular ones. Think about what is perpendicular with this. That's right, third graders. There are lines that are intersecting there. This picture is hard to tell, but stay tuned. Another one is coming that's similar. Football fields have tons of parallel lines, as you can see. All right, here's a picture of some perpendicular lines as well. One of the questions you might be asked to answer would say, please find or highlight an example of parallel lines in red. So I would take my pen or my color pencil or marker, and I would highlight these in red. Then it might say, find some perpendicular lines. So on the same picture, third graders, I could find some perpendicular lines as well, okay? And then I might just draw my little square in there to remind myself it always has to be a 90-degree angle. You might find some perpendicular lines in a parking lot. You could also find parallel ones depending on if you're looking at these ones or if you're looking at these ones. Okay, remember this angle doesn't quite do it justice, but when you are in a parking lot next time, think of that. Okay, there will also be parallel lines going up an escalator. Okay, you make sure you stay on this part of the escalator. But there might be some parallel lines on other parts of the escalator. Okay, here's another example of that perpendicular what's it called? Telephone lines. There we go. There's an example of that. Ooh, Rubik's Cube, the ultimate example of all things parallel and perpendicular. All right, we made it. Here is your challenge. When you go home tonight, identify some examples of parallel and perpendicular lines. Third graders, as you do that, maybe point them out to your family members. Maybe teach them to your younger siblings. We believe that you can do this. When you come back to school tomorrow, we hope to hear of an example of a parallel or perpendicular line that you found. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We believe in you. Bye.